The very latest on the New Orleans Saints coaching search, live from the Senior Bowl in Mobile, Alabama. One of my favorite events I used to go to all the time back when the Senior Bowl housed some of the best players in college. I haven't been in a long time, but it's a lot of fun. So if you ever have the chance to go and you've never gone, do it. It's cool. All right, Nick Underhill in the stands, in the nosebleeds. My God, get this guy. I mean, what are we doing here? Someone help him out. SeatGeek, Ticketmaster, somebody hook my guy up. Nick Underhill in front of us here. He's going to update us. Now, I'm very excited to watch this video because I have just been doing a ton of assuming. And ladies and gentlemen, you know what assuming does. It makes an ass out of you and me. Now, I'm hoping that what Nicholas says from the cheap seats, I hope he says what I've been saying. I hope he says this lines up for Kellen Moore. The Mike McCarthy news is directly correlated to Kellen Moore. It's not a quinky dink. It's not an accident that they go up to Philly and have this interview deep into the morning, late into the morning with Kellen Moore. Next thing you know, Mike McCarthy gracefully withdraws from the job opening that he was never interviewed for or offered or entertained or interested in, whatever. But hopefully that's the case. I will be absolutely befuddled if Nicholas says, well, actually, Kellen Moore, kind of man, whatever, Mike Kafka looks like he might be the guy. I'll be very, very upset. So let's go ahead and listen, react, like only I can do.
Hey, what's up, guys? Out here at the Senior Bowl covering the Saints and taking in the sights and scenes. Got the morning practice going on right now.
There you go.
That's the field. And, the way this kind of works, media side of the field, team side of the field. So the teams are all over there. All the scouts and stuff kind of watch from that side of it. And we're kind of quarantined off over on the...
Yeah, that's so the scouts, and that's so that everybody can talk freely, so they don't have to worry about the media overhearing anything. You obviously, if you're working for a team, you don't want, your words to be taken out of context. So that's why they do that, to keep the game what it is, a chance for scouts to get to know players.
This side they're in practice, and then afterwards everyone kind of gets to go down on the field. But that is Mike Kafka's team out there right now, and yesterday they definitely looked a lot sharper than the afternoon practice. So if you were looking for like a plus for Kafka, I think you got one during that morning session. There's actually a lot of buzz about Jackson Dart too, so that's kind of been...
I'll tell you what, Jackson Dart lit it up today. I'm filming this on a Tuesday. No, Wednesday. Filming this on a Wednesday. Jackson Dart lit it up. So, yeah, I got a feeling Jackson Dart will be probably, when it's all said and done, just knowing how this works, high-flying offense, whatever. He'll probably end up being quarterback 3. Maybe find his way into the first round. Depends. Which is totally off subject, but this is why I said Quinn Ewers needs to go back to college football. It makes no sense for Quinn to go into college. If Quinn went and played at Ole Miss or USC, a school like that, Indiana, if Quinn goes there, Ohio State, if Quinn goes there, lights it up, puts up big numbers, just like Jackson Dart did, you can find yourself in the first round. So I think it's crazy he's leaving college just to get drafted in the 4th or 5th round. So Jackson Dart doing himself some favors.
Interesting. He might be somebody that rises throughout this draft process. But yeah, for us though, a lot of it has been more about the behind the scenes than what's happening on the field, because this coach search is going on in full force. Actually, even yesterday, the first day of practices out here, it was just the college scouting staff was here, and the team brass was still making its way back from Philadelphia. Now everybody's up here today. All the execs are here, and it's a little bit more of a normal scene for the Saints. They're usually out here kind of like in full force, and it's almost a home game for them compared to everybody else when they have their coaching staff in place and everything. But a little bit of a different feel right now because that coach search is going on, and that's kind of where all the attention has been.
Yeah, man, I tell you what, it is hot and heavy as far as content, news. I mean, I like to peek behind the curtains. I usually film my videos, have everything set up, have everything ready to roll 12 p.m. and 6 p.m. and give you all some videos. Well, there's been multiple times where I've been forced to push a video out either 9 a.m. or 10 a.m. or 11 a.m. or whatever, because news is breaking and what I talked about doesn't matter anymore. And sometimes I had to do a video 11:45 at night when the Mike McCarthy news hit, because I'm sitting here thinking I can't wait until the next day. It's gonna be 12 hours later. I can't wait that long. So it's nonstop, and it's nonstop moving. I mean, I saw a video. I can't remember who it was from. It was another content creator. But today, on Wednesday, their video was like, it was something like Mike Kafka, the favorite ? It's like, what? Like, what do you mean? And I saw another one that said something like, it was today, Wednesday. It was like, why did Clint Kubiak leave the Saints? Like, what are you talking about? What, are you born yesterday? Like, news is just happening so fast. You got to be honest. So I can't imagine how hard it is for the New Orleans football crew to be in Mobile dealing with the Senior Bowl stuff, where you're interviewing people, you're trying to get the scoop on that, you're trying to write up the articles, you're trying to do your job in Mobile. Huge deal, huge day, while simultaneously you're trying to stay, especially for Nick. Like, Nick is a legitimate authority in the NFL news. Like, he breaks stories. So for Nick, it's like he has to be on the absolute top notch thing, because I'm sure he wants Adam Schefter or whoever to say per Nick Underhill, and that's how it works, right? So there's a lot of pressure for him to break whatever news is happening. That's probably very difficult to do while you're also at the Senior Bowl trying to operate. So it's just a crazy time right now in the world of New Orleans Saints content creation, and I mean, which is good. It's good for content creators. You always want something to talk about. So happy about it, but wild times.
Saw last night Mike McCarthy dropped out of it. And the way we've been talking about that and covering it, it just kind of felt like there was a lot more interest from Mike than the Saints had in him. And it felt like he really wanted to get down here and interview, and it feels like the Saints had their sights set on someone or something else. And I think him dropping out is just kind of indicative of the level of attention there. And I think he probably got a feel for it going somewhere else and decided to drop out of the race. So
I mean, Mike, I kind of joked about it to start the video, but it's funny that he withdrew for a job that he never was offered, he never interviewed for, he never is he also going to withdraw from being the vice president of the United States? Like, is he going to withdraw from being the CEO of Amazon? I mean, why stop at the Saints? Withdraw from all of it. Just make another press conference and say, I'm now withdrawing from buying Tesla. Like, just say random stuff and just see if it picks up, But I think McCarthy is a survivalist. He's always been like that, where I think his main thing is to keep himself employed. And I think he knew that he could be one of those guys who, when you are his age and when you are his tenure and when you are at his experience level, you can become that like dinosaur where if you're a year or 2 years removed from the league, you don't get hired anymore. Ron Rivera, John Gruden, it's out there. Pete Carroll would have been the same case if it wasn't for him getting hired immediately, right? So there's a very short window. And I think McCarthy knew, man, if I miss this window, I might be out. I might be on the outside looking in. I might have to go down to college or something else to stay relevant. And I think Mike was desperate. I really do. I think he was desperate to be in this race. I think he was desperate to be a possibility, a candidate. I think it worked. I really think he was there. I think he was going to cross the finish line if it wasn't for Kellen Moore, because Kellen Moore checks every box that the Saints could want. So I think because they have, in their eyes, they're like, man, we have a dream candidate here. So if it wasn't for Kellen Moore, I think McCarthy might have got the job. And I guess Mike read the tea leaves.
If I were a betting person, I feel like the last person to make a great impression was Kellen Moore, and it feels like that's just going to kind of be where this thing goes. Now, the Saints haven't made a decision. Nobody's agreed to anything. I don't even think a contract's been offered or anything like that at this point, but it feels like there's reciprocated interest there, and I'm kind of thinking that that's where it's going to end up. I'm told there's no plans to interview anyone else, that the field's the field, and as we've seen, a lot of the people in the field have pulled out of it. Cliff Kingsbury, Saints never made another effort to interview him again after that Washington game, but there was interest early on in that process. But he's out of it. Joe Brady's out of it. McCarthy's out of it, and it's just kind of played out that way. But Moore fits that profile of the candidates that they were looking for. So if you're trying to connect dots, seems like they were kind of really deep into the weeds on a young upside offensive coordinator. And he's the one, 36 years old. We'll see, if things come together, if he actually is the pick. I'm just kind of reading tea leaves right now, not reporting anything. So it just feels like that's kind of the way it's going. And look,
Makes perfect sense, right? Like if you think about Mickey Loomis and you put yourself in his shoes, if he's made two decisions when it comes to this, where he takes over the team early 2000s, makes the decision, you fire Haslett, okay, who are you going to get next? You go with Sean Payton, relatively unknown, young, offensive-minded, whatever other adjectives you want to throw out there. Works out pretty well, okay? 15 years of complete dominance, resurrects the franchise, completely changes the city, completely changes the just how the NFL and how fans looked at the New Orleans Saints for 15 years. Saints were absolutely must-see TV. They were good for the NFL. It's always good to have a team like that be successful and be entertaining. They were a fun team. Good players came in, good player after good player after good player. So then the next decision, okay, you try and insulate, you try and keep everything together. It blows up in your face with Dennis Allen, Pete Carmichael, whatever. So now you're at the third decision point. It does make sense that Loomis would sit back and say, well, looks like I know what works and what doesn't work. So it does make sense that when his back's against the wall after a handful of years of just bad results, that he's going to go back to the well and say, give me the young coordinator, the offensive coordinator I'm going to take a chance on and try and get me 10, 15 years of sustained success. And kudos to Mickey Loomis that that's how it all plays out, because it could have been super easy for him to panic or for him to act early and to try and just save face and be done with it and not take a risk and say, yeah, we'll go with Mike McCarthy. No one's going to be mad if I take Mike McCarthy. No one's going to be mad if he's the next coach of the New Orleans Saints. No one's going to be mad if he's the guy. No one will be upset about that. Everyone will say, okay, yeah, C+, whatever, and I'll be safe. But doesn't look like that's the case. So will Moore work out if he gets the job? I can't promise that. But as a Saints fan, I'm happy they went this route and are taking a chance on him than playing it safe.
Look, it'd be an interesting choice. No connections to the Saints. Totally new thought process. Guy playing in the Super Bowl, has that Philly offense looking really good right now. Got him back on track after a weird year last year. So it just kind of feels like that's the direction things are going right now. So we'll see how it plays out. But we've been kind of trying to figure out what's going on with that. Got a lot of coverage on our website, neworleans.football. Please sign up for it. Keep it locked with us. Use the code NOF. Save 20% on your first payment.
Yeah, go ahead. Get over there, NOF, save 20%. They got some insane coverage right now. I mean, really, really, really good stuff. So I would absolutely advocate to go over there and sign up. Let me say this about Moore, and I'm going to say this a lot if he ends up getting hired because we'll do a ton of videos on it. But if you take 400 steps back and you take a look at what the Saints would want during this whole process, and you would lay out the perfect candidate, you would kind of find yourself at Kellen Moore. I mean, you would find yourself at experience. Kellen Moore has certainly a ton of experience. You would say offense. He's an offensive coach, offensive coordinator. You would say young, 36 years old. You would say from a good team. His team is playing in the Super Bowl. Could be the Super Bowl winning offensive coordinator. You would say no ties to the Saints, right? No ties to Loomis or Allen or Carr or anybody. Totally new voice. Completely separate from the entire process. He would be the guy who it ticks every box. And whether you like Loomis or whether you like the Saints or whether you think they're a garbage team in a garbage direction, you do. If this all comes together, you do have to kind of sit back and say, like, damn, this is, whether it was luck or however you want to frame it, worked out pretty well. And hell yeah, like, damn, this could have been a whole lot worse. Like, how did this happen? How did Brian Schottenheimer get hired? How did some of these other people get hired? And all of a sudden, Kellen Moore ends up here. How? But it worked, and thank God. Like, good. I'm glad it worked, and I think it's exciting. And I hope it comes together shortly after the Super Bowl, and we can move forward with the full news, and we don't have to sit back and say, like, well, if this happens, or, well, allegedly. Like, we can just go ahead and move forward and then focus on filling out the staff and seeing who the DC is, and then focusing on the 9th overall pick. But gotta hand it to the process. You gotta hand it to the process that all things said and done, you probably got your guy. You probably got probably your number one guy. If not number one, probably number two. You know, you look at a Joe Brady, you look at a Liam Cohen, you look at a Ben Johnson. I mean, I said this earlier this week, but you look at Joe Brady and you look at Kellen Moore, like if you stack their resumes on top of each other, it's not even close. Like Kellen Moore is definitely the better candidate. Joe Brady is probably the flashier hire because there's more unknown and he's got the ties to, you know, LSU and all that stuff, but and the Saints. But I mean, if you look at Moore and Brady stacked on top of each other, I would say Moore is the guy. Moore is the better candidate. And you can look at Moore and Ben Johnson. And it's like, well, Ben Johnson gets the accolades, Ben Johnson gets the clout, but you look at their two resumes and relatively similar. You know, so I think it's a slam dunk. I really do. I think it's a slam dunk. I can't find the negative with it. I can't wait to order my Boise State Kellen Moore jersey. And there it is. So there's the latest on this news. Hopefully we keep these updates trending in the right direction. I'm very happy that Nick said that he sees it kind of like, okay, well, it's going to end up being more. And that's what I wanted to hear. I was very concerned. I was very concerned that he would say like Mike Kafka still has a really good chance, because in my mind, you know, it's pretty much it's Moore's job. So the fact that he said like, yeah, I mean, you know, Kellen Moore is probably going to end up that way, then I'll take that. So let me know in the comments below what you think. Thank you very much for watching, ladies and gentlemen, and I will see you in the next video.